Hello again and welcome back to Scott's Big Mouth Podcast. No idea what episode number it is. Don't care. Don't care. Don't give a shit. I, like most of the UK population at the moment, sweating buckets. Not just because I'm fat, but because I've just been for a half-hour walk with lovely Wanda. We're in the middle of our exercise journey. Well, I'm in the middle of trying to get a bit fitter. Scott's Big Mouth Podcast is available on all good streaming download places, as well as some really shit ones as well as on YouTube. So if you could see this fat monstrous mess sweating away, it's because the door's closed here, the window's closed there, because there's something going on in the garden, and I don't want to be disturbed, because the subject that I'm going to talk about today is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I saw something in the news today that had a real effect on me. And that subject is men's mental health. Now, with most of these Big Mouth podcasts, I tend to make a few notes, just a few, so I've got my train of thought. With this, I've got none. Got no notes. All I've got is the news article that I saw today that has prompted this video, podcast, whatever you want to call it, is entirely up to you. And the news article I saw is the death of Graham Thorpe, ex-England cricketer. Now, it was revealed, I think it was last week, that Graham Thorpe had passed away, sadly. I think he was 55. So not a huge difference in age to myself, and probably many of you. And it came out today, so it's Monday the 12th of August today. It's come out today that Graham Thorpe's wife has revealed that he took his own life, and it sparked some memories from my own life, and the fact that as men, and this is predominantly aimed at men, but not so much so that I want to exclude women, but it's a known fact that men find it very hard to talk about their feelings and open up and suffer with their mental health. I saw a video from friend of the channel, Raggy, who put a video out recently about suffering with his mental health. And Raggy, Billy, whatever you know him as, has always been very honest about his battles with his own mental health. I am of an age of, I was brought up in a naval family whereby for large portions of my life I was brought up on man up. So if you were struggling, well, man up, mate. It's just all in your head. That changed slightly, and I'll get into the reasons why in a minute. If I need to, probably should make some notes, but I'm probably not going to. My dad was in the Navy, as I said. He was a very proud naval man. He was a master at arms. He was on. He was in the Falklands War. He was in the Gulf War. My dad, although he never admitted it, he suffered with PTSD from the trauma of the Falklands War. He was never diagnosed, I don't believe, but I firmly believe he'd never speak about the Falklands War, and he would largely shut down if it was ever mentioned, and never speak about it. And I do know he had nightmares about it. His ship was hit by a torpedo. So that changed his outlook ever so slightly, although it never sort of manifested itself down to us, me and my sister, as children. But yeah, we lived in a sort of man up era. But as you go on later on through your life, you realise that man up doesn't actually exist. So dealing with Graham Thorpe, I'm going to read the article from the Sky News app, because I think it's really important. I think it's really important that there's some detail in here. I've seen bits of it, I haven't read it all, but there are some bits in here that I think are really important to address. So it says the wife of former England cricketer Graham Thorpe has revealed he took his own life after a years-long battle with anxiety and depression. Thorpe's death at the age 55 was announced by the England and Wales Cricket Board on the 5th of August. So a week ago, they announced that Graham Thorpe had died. There was no reason for death given at the time. Obviously, that's come out this week and today from Graham's wife, that sadly, unbelievably sadly, Graham decided to take his own life. It goes on to say, his cause of death was not given at the time, but his wife Amanda and daughter Kitty told the Times on Monday that, and in quotes, he took his own life after suffering from major depression and anxiety. Mrs. Thorpe also revealed he made a serious attempt on his life in May 2022, which resulted in a period in intensive care. So this wasn't the first time that Graham had tried to take his own life. For the past couple of years, this is a quote from Graham's wife. For the past couple of years, Graham had been suffering from major depression and anxiety. This led him to make a serious attempt on his life in May 2022, which resulted in a prolonged stay in an intensive care unit. She told former England cricketer Michael Atherton during a newspaper interview. Despite glimpses of hope and of the old Graham, he continued to suffer from depression and anxiety, which at times got very severe. We supported him as a family, and he tried many treatments, but unfortunately none of them really seemed to work. Graham was renowned as someone who was very mentally strong on the field, and he was in good physical health. But mental illness is a real disease and can affect anyone. Thorpe played for England between 1993 and 2005 and still holds the record of being its 10th highest scorer of all time. The left-handed batsman scored 16 centuries across his Test and ODI career, which includes 17 years for Surrey. He captained England 3 times and moved to coaching after his playing days were over. Thorpe relocated to New South Wales to work with Australian players before returning to England to be a batting coach. 2022, he was appointed Afghanistan's head coach, but was declared seriously ill in hospital shortly after. There's a quote, "We're not ashamed." His daughter Kitty told the Times her family wants to open the conversation about chronic mental ill health and suicide. "We're not ashamed of talking about it. There is nothing to hide, and it is not a stigma," she told Atherton. "We were trying to help him get better before and trying to protect him, which is why we said nothing. This is the time to now to share the news. However horrible it is, we've wanted to be able to talk and share, and we'd now like to raise awareness too," which is what I'm trying to do today as well. Tributes to him flooded in. The ECB statement said there was no appropriate words to describe the deep shock we feel, describing him as a beloved member of the cricket family and revered by all fans all over the world. Anyone feeling emotionally distressed or suicidal can call the Samaritans for help on 116 123 or email jo@samaritans.org. in the UK. In the US, call the Samaritans branch in your area or 1-800-273-TALK. I find it so sad. I find it so sad When you look at taking a look at international sportsmen, people you respect and you look up to, I saw Graham Thorpe play on the television, and to see people like that are clearly talented and they've still got these mental demons, I find it profoundly sad. Now, I watched Raggy's video. If you haven't watched Raggy's video, go and watch it. It's well worth watching. He goes into some of the mental health struggles he deals with, and I'm not too proud or ashamed to sit here and say that through divorce and through not seeing my son, I'm a very damaged man, and at times in my life I have considered suicide. That'll probably get my video demonetized immediately. My divorce was hell on earth. It almost destroyed me mentally. My ex-wife and her family went on a campaign to try and discredit me as a father. They tried to financially ruin me. They tried to mentally cripple me. And they almost succeeded. I was very lucky at the time that I met Wanda, during the time that this was going on. And I was doing a lot of running at the time. And a couple of times I lost all sense of what was right in the world and decided that I was going to throw myself in front of cars. Not stationary cars, that would be mad. But I was going to throw myself in front of cars. I run along a very busy road in Portsmouth, and everything in my being was telling me that there was no way out. I wasn't going to see my son, didn't know where I was going to live. The pressures were getting to me, and it was a horrific time. I'm very lucky that Wanda helped me through that, but also that's left me damaged. It's left me a very damaged person. I don't deal with things particularly well. I don't always maybe I've got traits of PTSD from what happened to me, and that's not belittling people that have got serious PTSD. Soldiers, military personnel that have seen things that I'll never see in my lifetime. But when you suffer, and anything can trigger a problem in your brain, and I did a podcast last year on parental alienation and the fact that I don't see my son, the reasons behind why I don't see my son, the fact that I've been alienated out of his life, and I'm not proud enough to sit here and say that for the best part of 2 months it made mine and Wanda's life very difficult, because I spiralled down through a very dark well of mental health issues that luckily, and I am very lucky, that Wanda was very patient with and helped me deal with. There's going to be guys watching this that suffer daily with depression, crippling anxiety, and these are all things that, again, I didn't believe existed. I didn't believe anxiety existed. I thought it was all in your fucking head. I didn't believe depression existed. I thought it was all in your head. I thought you were all mental. It's all mental, mate. That doesn't exist. Just man up. But until you go through these things yourself, then you begin to realise that the brain's it's a wonderful thing, but it can be your worst enemy. So when you read things like Graham Thorpe, a world-renowned cricketer, took his own life, and it wasn't the first time he tried. And we could go back through thousands of celebrities. People, I was heavily involved with the child maintenance service stuff, and the fact that service is responsible for 1,000 deaths a year of males. that are crippling people's mental health. And anything can trigger a mental health problem. You know, it's not a textbook one size fits all thing. It can be absolutely anything. And once those sort of things hit, they're damaging and they're very difficult to get yourself out of. I've never been an advocate for speaking to somebody personally, but if it works for you, and if you do need to speak to somebody, please do it. If you're at the end of the road, then please seek out help and speak to somebody. I did a reaction video. You may not have seen it, of the Massive Wagon's new song, Night Skies. And the video to that brought me to tears, because you can see, and the video's design, obviously it's a piece of artwork, the video, but it's a piece of artwork that's designed to see a guy that's got a permanent grin on his face. He just smiles through everything, because he's probably on the happy pills, and there's nothing, I don't mean to use that term derogatory. If you are taking pills that genuinely make you feel better, then I'm not one to criticise you. So he's on the pills to help him cope with his anxieties, his depression. So he's got this permanent grin on his face, and everything's going wrong around him. And all of a sudden, he gets into bed at night, and he sat there, and just the smile just drains from his face. And that bit for me still gives me goosebumps. And then he reaches across, and he's got his coping mechanism pills there, and you think he's going to pick those up, and he doesn't, and he goes to the phone and he phones somebody, and I just think that the message is incredible. It's incredibly important. And I'm not being derogatory, and I don't mean to criticise anybody. If you've got a coping mechanism, then please use it. And if it's doing you good, then I'm not one to criticise that at all. But speaking about men's mental health is something that none of us do particularly well, and I class myself in that. I've run a beer channel largely for 5 and a bit years, and I've touched on in the past that I got myself into a stage. I suffered with insomnia for years, and I thought my crutch would be alcohol. So I would drink more than a couple of beers. Never got to the stage where I'd get up in the morning and want a beer or need a beer, but I would need a beer to tell my brain that I needed to go to sleep. So my brain linked alcohol with the need. My brain linked sleep with the need for alcohol to help it sleep, which obviously we all know. Any right-minded person knows that alcohol aids depression. It doesn't bring you out of depression, it aids depression. So if you're using alcohol as a coping mechanism, please seek help. I'm very lucky. I got myself out of that. I've got a very caring wife, and I substituted alcohol for my Kindle, believe it or not, which is just the maddest thing maddest sort of swing you could ever get. But we've all got these coping mechanisms. Some of them are good, some of them aren't good. But I think the need to speak and need to just reach out. If you're suffering and you need help, then reach out. There's an email address. I'm not by no means a qualified person, but if you want to send an email, I'll respond. scotlandwonder@yahoo.com.co.uk, whichever one it is. Don't let anxiety and depression ruin your life. And I know that's very easy for me to say, and speak to people. Just speak to someone. if you're suffering or it doesn't matter what it's about, or even if you don't want to tell them what it's about, just speak to somebody. Just speak to somebody about random stuff, daily stuff. Don't tell them what your worries and fears are. Just phone them up or text them or do something, contact somebody and have a conversation about football or about what's on television or your best YouTube channel. Just reach out and talk to people. There's plenty of people out there. Your favourite channel, leave a comment on one of their videos and see if they respond. I do that. No one responds. But I just think I think it's really important, and I suffer. Wanda suffers with her mental health enormously. Don't suffer privately. Just reach out for help. I don't know how long this one's going to be. It's probably only going to be a short one, but I think it's really important. The fact that Graham Gooch tried to take his life, because he can't see any way out of the things that are going on in his own head. I find that profoundly sad. I really do. It's what a world we live in, isn't it? And it's still a stigma, even today, about a man speaking up saying he's struggling. It's 2024. You know, we shouldn't be at the stage now where we're struggling and we've got no one to speak to. There's phone numbers, there's email addresses, there's someone at the end of the phone all the time. So you don't even have to tell them what your problems are. Just phone them up and speak to them. Because we lose too many people. We lose too many people to suicide. We lose too many people that are taking their own life when it can be prevented. It really can. The CMS stuff, it can be prevented. There's people out there that will listen to you. I'll listen to you. It's a really sad state of affair that stigma, even now. And even now, it probably goes through my head of man up, you know, even in the world we live in. And how wrong's that? That's me sat there saying that it's not right, but it probably still goes through my head even now. It's a crazy thing, and the brain is an incredible instrument, but it's also a fucking instrument of torture. So yeah, I saw that today. Obviously, I saw that he died last week, and saw that today that his wife had come out, and I thought that was very brave. And there is a brave. So if you are struggling, there's no stigma behind it. There's no need to be ashamed. We've all got things going on in our lives that cause us stress. And it's how we manage those stressful things that ultimately is the ticket to finding your way out of that dark hole. And so please reach out. If you are struggling with your mental health, please reach out to somebody. I would be horrified to hear of anybody taking their own life, because it's just not right. It's not the right course of events, and the people that get left behind as well. I find that profoundly sad as well. I'm going to leave it there. It's a subject I've wanted to talk about for a little while, and I've probably just rambled on for a little bit, but I tend to do these ones when I ramble on. I just sit down, haven't made any notes, speak from the heart. And I think that comes across, hopefully, more genuine than if I've sat there reading notes off of a screen. This genuinely comes from my heart. Men's mental health isn't a stigma. It isn't something to be ashamed of. It's not something that you need to bury your head in the sand about. There are people that can listen to you, that will listen to you. Doesn't matter how small your problem is or how big your problem is. There's always someone there to listen and help. So please reach out to that person if you are suffering. Leave a comment if you are. I'll get back to you. If you don't want to do it on a public forum, there's an email address. Send to somebody and say, I'm not a qualified counsellor or anything like that, but I will reply to you. I'm not going to give the old bullshit about liking and all that bollocks. Take care of yourselves. If you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. And if you are struggling, please reach out to somebody. See you soon.